It's a great weekend, and it's time again for TVC's weekly review of trending national issues, Standpoint. I thank you for joining us again today. Today's program, like before, is in two segments, but we're going to merge the two segments into one. In the first segment, really, the House of Representatives sought tougher measures last Thursday to restrict the employment of foreign nationals by firms or organizations in the country. A bill to restrict the issuance of work permits to foreigners by the federal government passed second reading at the House. The bill, which was sponsored by the majority leader of the House, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, was this House response to how to address the growing unemployment rate in the country. It's provided that foreigners should be considered for a job only when it was proven that no Nigerian possessed the requisite qualification for the job. Defending the bill, Gbajabiamila said it was a further step taken by the legislature to find solutions to the unemployment in the country. Penalty for violators, if the bill is finally signed into law, is said to be raised from 1 million to 2 million. Will this step reduce the unemployment rate in the country? And will the law be strictly taken care of? And the second segment, we will be focusing on the upcoming Ondo State governorship election coming up later this year. It's less than 3 months to the deadline given by the Independent National Electoral Commission for the primary elections for participating political parties in the November 26 governorship election in the Ondo State to pick their candidates for the governorship election in the state. These are the issues on the front burner today. Don't forget, you can join the conversation by calling in when the phone lines are open. I am Dakbo Aruajoe. When we return from the break, I will introduce my set of guests. Please stay with us. Welcome back. I said the two segments are going to be merged into one. Let me start by introducing two of my guests today. I have on my left-hand side Chief Bukola Adetula, an APC governorship aspirant in Ondo State. He's a lawyer and a businessman from Owo local government. Thank you very much for joining us, Chief.
Thank you for having me.
And on my right-hand side, I have a chief also. Chief Femi George. He's a friend of the house, really. And he's also vying for a post. He's vying for the local government chairman of Itiosa local government in Lagos State. Thank you very much, Chief George.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me here.
All right, then. Let me start with you, sir. Like you read you listened to my intro. Gbajabiamila sponsored a bill which has passed the second reading now. The bill is seeking for preference to be given to Nigerians above foreigners in this country. What do you think this bill is aimed to achieve?
Look, I think it's a good bill. I think it's a good first step. I think as long as it's enforced fairly and as long as the necessary requirements are put in place and we follow the requirements, it will work very well. This is not so unusual. In other parts of the world, in different countries, wherever you go, you have countries that make it mandatory for you to be able to employ their own nationals before you consider foreigners in their respective countries. So I think it's good. I think it will help the employment circumstances here that we have in Nigeria. My concern, of course, and I think it's a concern that the bill must address and regulations must be put in place to make sure that this concern does not become a problem. And that's where we as Nigerians, we expect that, because maybe if a job calls for a Bachelor of Science degree in engineering, for instance, let's say chemical engineering, that should not just be the basic requirement. It must have other levels, other tiers. There must be experience tied to it. There should be no shortcuts. And I say that not necessarily because I'm trying to protect the interest of the prospective foreign workers, but to assure that we can maintain certain standards so that the people we employ are indeed qualified, have the knowledgeable educational experience, have the work experience to fit the position that they are seeking. We shouldn't just simply say because the position is open and there is a Nigerian that qualifies educationally, even if he doesn't have that experience or even if she doesn't have that experience, to now override a foreigner who will help us develop that job, develop that position, develop whatever
and
project.
Has experience.
And has experience, because again, we need to always rely upon experience from other parts of the world. I think the other point I need to make is that we also have to be careful about technology transfer. Again, we have a lot of foreign trained people, foreigners, nationals of other countries who have experience, who are knowledgeable in working in various types of technology. We need to be concerned about how do we transfer that technology over here to us here in Nigeria. And one of the easy ways we do that is to make sure that we utilize foreign nationals in various positions here so that they can work, for instance, in supervisory positions, teach our Nigerians on how to operate some of this new equipment, how to get familiar with the new technology, so that that technology, that experience can begin to transfer over to us. We need to be mindful of that.
Wonderful, sir. That's a whole lot coming from you. What do you think, Mr. Judge?
It's a good bill. The intention is very good. I was excited when I heard that it's passed the second reading. But for me, I think we should also balance it. It's one thing for you to be able to guarantee Nigerians access to certain jobs. I mean, not at the detriment of other people. My concern is that, listen, for instance, you have to look at things from the perspective of the employer, of the businessman. If I'm setting up a company, I'm bringing in investment to the country, and I need a graduate engineer, I can tell you for free that a Nigerian graduate is not the same thing as someone that's called somewhere else in the country. Before I walked into the studio, I mean, I was checking online the ratings of the universities, and it will shock you to realize that there's no Nigerian university that ranks amongst the first 30 universities in Africa. So that tells you the kind of quality of graduates that we are producing.
And in the world, maybe above 200.
I mean, let's even narrow it down to Africa. No Nigerian university ranks amongst the first 30. So if I'm a businessman, I'm looking for skilled labor. I want to make profit. So you need to look at it from both sides of the coin. We shouldn't just make it a blanket rule to say that, okay, you know what, you must give preference to Nigerians. Yes, you have to give preference to Nigerians, but it must be within certain parameters that also takes into consideration what the employer is also looking for. You can encourage them. There could be some tax holiday to say that, okay, you know what, if you employ 100 people, if 40 are Nigerians, 60 are foreigners, it gives you access to so and so. There are ways by which we can balance those things so that, you know what, we don't shoot ourselves in the foot.
But for talking about the ranking itself, do you think for the fact that Nigerian universities are not amongst 30, you said, in Africa, does that mean the graduates they're churning out are not wouldn't be that productive? Or?
Well, I can tell you for free, I mean, and you can ask any HR consultant, if they're recruiting for a job, the way they screen CVs, foreign graduates, private universities, then public universities. That's the criterion that they use. And that tells you a lot about the quality of graduates that we are producing. If you pick a graduate today and you put him on a job, you need to spend like 3 to 6 months to actually train them, to make them even appreciate what, I mean, work ethics or work culture is. And you start wondering, which school are you coming from? So that's a major problem, really.
A major one. Yeah. So let me take it to Chief, because what you said now is a germane one, really. The level of education here, really. If you have, since Nigerian universities are not ranking amongst the best in the world or in Africa, do you think the product coming out of this university, do you think the merit, the qualifications they really attain from these universities?
I think they do, but I think you have to split it into 2 sections. I touched upon it earlier, and I talked about experience. My experience, and I studied in the U.S. I spent many years in the U.S. studying. And what I have found through the number of years that I lived in the U.S. is that a lot of our Nigerian graduates from Nigerian institutions who studied here, who have their degrees from here, are some of the best engineers we have anywhere in the world. They're some of the best medical doctors.
Studied in Nigeria?
Who studied in Nigeria. Going to the U.S.
But they continue their education in the U.S.?
Not necessarily. They are very well trained. Part of where they are lacking is in the practical training, the on-hands experience. They're lacking in the areas of updated and newer technology. But when you talk about the theoretical aspects of education, and yes, I understand education is both it's both parts. It's not just theoretical, it's theoretical and practical. So what you have is you have Nigerians who are very well trained, who come out of our universities, who understand very fully, very well the theoretical part of their various fields, but they've not had access to some of the more updated equipment, the technological
The know-how.
aspects of the training. So I think what we can do is we can phase in very, very slowly with this type of a bill. I said it earlier on, we can begin to look for foreign nationals, come in, they bring in the equipment, they train our own engineers, they train our own doctors in whatever the field it may be, because they understand the theoretical parts, but they've not had access to some of the equipment they need. And I think we will need time for that to transfer over slowly and steadily. And the only way you can do that is to encourage the influx of foreign trained nationals who understand this equipment, who understand the technology, who know how to use it, but most importantly, who have had experience using this equipment. I think once you do that, you will find that our Nigerian trained graduates are up to the task. They hold their own anywhere they are in the parts of the world, but they take a bit of time. It takes them a little bit of time to acclimatize to the new surroundings, the new settings, the new equipment, and the technological advancement that exists in a lot of the other parts of the world.
Marvelous. At that juncture, we need to go on a short break. When we'll come back, we will continue from where we stopped. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. And if you're just joining us, I've been having a chat with Chief Bukola Adetula, APC governorship aspirant in Ondo State, and also Mr. Babafemi George, an aspirant in Lagos State, is vying for Etiosa local government. And just joining us, I have the second Vice President, Young Entrepreneurs of Nigeria. That's of the person of Mr. Adeniyi Ojikutu. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Before you joined us, before you joined the discussion, we were looking at this bill that passed the second reading at the House of Representatives, courtesy of the Honorable Bajabi Amila. He was looking at the fact that Nigerians should be given preference before even expatriates or foreigners. What is your own take on this? Because you are playing an important role in employment tackle in Nigeria. What do you think?
Yeah, thank you very much. Basically, the problem of unemployment is a national issue in Nigeria. And there was a resolution, October 2015, that was passed by the House of Representatives, stating that there should be a state of emergency, should be declared in the labor market in Nigeria. It was a resolution that was duly passed October 2015 by the House. But basically, unemployment is something that we must take seriously. And the solution to me and to my organization is entrepreneurship. Now, we know that there are few jobs, while there are so, very much, large number of people chasing. So when you look at unemployment itself, it's defined by ILO, International Labour Organization, as the number of people that are willing and able to work, but could not get something to be done.
Well, willing.
Active, willing, yeah, willing and able. They are able, they have the qualification, they have the expertise, they have the experience sometime, but they could not get a job. So, and these things need, serious and a very good concentration from the government. Because when you tackle it, this bill is probably to give Nigeria more opportunities to get even the fewer jobs that are available.
But do you think the foreigners were threatening our jobs before?
Sincerely, they are. Sincerely. But the way the government should go about it, it's a two-way thing. You should not threaten, the foreigners to come in. The threat should not be too much, while they should know the rules of the game. In nowhere in the world, if you go to, advanced countries, you have these labor laws, these employment laws. You can't just get into any economy and say because you have all the qualification in the world, you want to get a gainful employment. So this bill the area that is more important to, the amendment basically that's been introduced by Honorable Gbajabiamila is the section 38 that states that no job should be given out to any non-indigent or somebody that is not a citizen of Nigeria except that there is no Nigerian that is duly qualified. And if I tell you, I don't think there is any field of endeavor that there are no Nigerians
and that are
qualified. So sincerely is to protect the few jobs for qualified and probably the unqualified Nigerians. At least let's get those jobs ourselves first before we can think of bringing people in.
Okay, well, I'll come back to you, but let me go to you, Femi now. And I asked the same question. Do you think Nigerian jobs were threatened before? Though we have expatriates, we have people. And you know, expatriates don't come to this country. Foreigners don't come to this country to do menial jobs. Though some do. Maybe for some part, maybe the Asian part of the world. But some do. But do you think Nigerians, the jobs in Nigeria were threatened before?
I think to a large extent they were threatened. They were threatened. And we've seen cases whereby, I mean, they bring in foreigners at times who are even less qualified. But you know, because we have this mentality that once you see a white skin,
Oyinbo.
an Oyinbo automatically is smarter than a black man. So they bring them in, I mean, they give them expatriate allowance, they live in luxury apartments in Ikoyi, they give them a driver, a steward, you name it. And you have, most of the time, they are surrounded by Nigerians who are actually doing that job for them. So all they are earning is because of the color of their skin. So like I said earlier on, it's a well-intended bill, okay? But like I said, it has to be balanced. And it's not only in the skilled labor market, even in the unskilled labor market. I'm in the real estate sector, and I tell you what I've noticed, and it's becoming a serious problem in the past 2-3 years. You go to a construction site, you realize that 40 to 50% of the masons you find on site are either from Cotonou or from Togo.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you ask the contractor, are there no Nigerian, laborers who can plaster the wall? They will tell you, Oga, if you get a Nigerian guy to come and set these tiles, one tile will go to the right, another one will go to the left.
And that's true. Attention to details.
That they prefer to get a Togolese guy or Benin guys who is cool and level-headed, that he will do a better job. But for me, I ask myself, where did we get it wrong? Because I tell you what, in those days, 20, 30 years ago, you have Nigerians that, okay, they can't make it to university, but they go to technical schools. I remember as a child, in those days, we used to attend Freedom Party. They call it Freedom. You know, and it was a big deal, and there was no shame in it. And a family would throw a party for someone who's attaining freedom, others apprentice of bricklayer or organizer or carpenter. We were churning out quality, craftsmen. But where have we thrown all those things to? And like I said, you can't blame the businessman. If he's taking $100 million loan from the bank to build a fully detached house to sell, he's not going to give the job to a Nigerian to finish, to say because there's a law that says I must employ a Nigerian. At the end of the day, he builds a house that can't be sold in the market. He will go and get a Beninese who will do a better job. So we need to look at it critically.
There should be a balance, really, Chief Adesula. What do you think? Because what you said again is Jamin, because when you get to look at it, the argument is the Beninois, the people from Cotonou, when they do the tile, really, or they do, what's it called, the plastering, the attention to details, they calm. But where did we get it wrong?
I don't think we got it wrong. I think we know exactly where the problems are. I highlighted it to you earlier on. I said, it's all about experience. Sometimes a lot of our own workers go through very short time training process. Everybody believes they can lay tiles.
Are they even training process?
Well, that's the problem. So you must create the training for them. You must require them to go through a certain number of months or years of training under supervision. And like Chief Judge pointed out, once you get them to go through that, coupled with the fact that we as Nigerians generally were always in a rush. And that's why we short-circuit a lot of things. I'm amazed sometimes when I ask a driver, for instance, did you go to driving school? He says no. How did you learn to drive this 16-wheeler or 20-wheeler of a vehicle and you're on the road? And he says he doesn't have a driver's license.
Maybe he inherited it.
Exactly. So you see, these are part of the problems. We need to put regulations in place that will mandate training. that will take us back to some of those old times that he pointed out. When you go through training, you then enjoy this wonderful process called freedom. You celebrate it. You bring in your family and relatives. There's plenty to eat, plenty to drink. It's a celebration. So we must go back to those times where we mandate proper training. We also have to be sure that we don't get caught up in the sentiments. This should not be a sentimental thing. It shouldn't be about, well, one is a Nigerian, one is a Togolese. It should be about who is better trained, who has the patience. The tile laying, for instance, is a great example. It takes skill, but it takes patience. If you rush it, it's going to be wobbled, it's going to be crooked. A lot of our Nigerian trained workers, when they're laying tiles, their attitude is, well, who cares? As long as I lay the tiles and I'm done laying it, pay me, it's done. And then the owner of the property comes there, he looks at it, the whole thing is crooked, it's been laid, rush, rush, rush. This is another area of training. So we need to look at the tools they are using, we need to look at the orientation, we need to look at the attitude of our workers, but most importantly, we need to make sure that they have the tools they need, the proper equipment, and they need to be trained on how to use that equipment. I think if you train the average Nigerian, you take away the sentiment, you are sure that the attitude to jobs, to skilled jobs, is different from what we have today.
So there should be a reorientation.
Exactly. We really have to. The law will help only to some extent because employers will always look for ways to get around it.
Yes.
But then we need to recognize very, very quickly that if we don't change things, if we don't reverse things, employers will constantly look outside of Nigeria for their employment needs.
Okay. Ani, what do you think? Because abroad, you see people, you see governments and institutions. Do you have a call? You see governments or institutions putting up institutions also, maybe like technical colleges. People go to school to become a joiner. People go to school for plumbing. And that is a great job for them. But Nigeria, it seems that is missing. Hello? Yeah, okay, I'll come back to you. Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Tony Alade, calling from Sulere.
Yeah, nice having you, Tony.
Yeah, I want to attend to the program.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Your contribution, please. We're waiting for
you. You know what happened? We Nigeria are so lazy. We always depend on white-collar jobs. I am the last person your side complain once about Cotonou people on the Togo people to come and plaster the house. The reason about Nigeria is that if you call them, you call Nigeria people, they will told you that, oh, they will demand a big money, which Cotonou people will be collecting cheap money and they will do the job very well. Nigeria's youth always look for money by all means. That is why things have not done.
So what do you think about that bill that has passed the second reading, thereby stopping foreigners from getting jobs, which you have qualified Nigerians?
Yes, sir. We need to talk to each other. Nigerians believe that anything they are doing, they will put the money first. Everything is not about money. Those people in outside country, they do the job perfectly before money. But Nigerian people, you can see somebody will charge you in the house or charge you in the city, and you can never even do it better in Nigeria. I will call you a foreigner.
Okay.
And the foreigner people will do it.
All right. Thank you so much, Tony. That's all I can take from you. So we allow space for some other callers. You know what I was saying there was, because there are facts that some people say the phones you see nowadays are made by maybe secondary school students, maybe in China or thereabout. But in Nigeria, what we do is just fix the phone. Sometimes we might not be able to fix it because there should be an institution to teach us engineering, to teach us plumbing. But why is that missing?
Okay. Thank you very much. Basically, as Nigerians, we have to sincerely look at the issues holistically and take the blames where necessary. Now, if we will flash back to the past, Nigerian during the 1972, 75, thereabout, there was this thing that called this policy that is called the substitute policy, whereby all the goods that you know that conveniently you can manufacture in Nigeria, you do not need to import them. Now, you make local substitutes of the imported products. And that led to the development of the industrial sector of Nigerian economy in the early 70s. Now, the problem came from the point in time whereby we went back to importation. We went back to, so now when we are a buying and selling economy, you now expect somebody to go back to maybe to go and fix a wardrobe that would take him like 3 weeks, or you expect somebody to go and lay a tile, or do something that is crafty in nature, that though it will take time for you to fix, and at the end of the day, but when you do crafting and you do these technical things, what the result will be is what you have done today will be part of your profile to get bigger jobs tomorrow. That means the job might not come immediately, the big money might not come immediately, but you will grow in that technical skill or technology or whatever aspect it is as time goes on. So that will stand as your curriculum vitae that would give you bigger opportunity to get bigger jobs.
I don't want to miss this call from Republic of Benin. Is that Musa? I lost that call. Sorry about that. And we need to go on a short break. When we'll come back, we'll definitely continue. Don't go anywhere, please. Come back. I still have my guest in the studio. And let me go to you now, Bafemi. What do you think, really, because you're a young man, you're vying for the chairmanship position of Etiosa local government. What is your idea of an employment? Because you have the APC, right?
That's right.
Your party promised creation of jobs, a whole lot of jobs. What do you think, really? How has the party fared enough, or what do you think you, as a young man, can do to help another young man on the street?
Thank you. When you talk about unemployment in Nigeria, basically you're talking about the youth between the ages of 18 and 35. Demography says that 1 out of every 3 Nigerians falls within that age bracket. So they are the ones who are unemployed. For me, if I want to create jobs for them, it's not a one-size-fits-all strategy. You need to look at what are the things that excite that age bracket. How do they think? And the answer is simple. Social media, information technology. So if you're thinking of creating jobs for them, it's not about saying that, okay, you know what, we're going to create a farming program that's going to create jobs in all the 774 local governments in Nigeria. No, that's not it. The young guy in Etiosa might not be interested in farming. So if the president says, I'm giving $1 billion to the local government, that might not work for us in Etiosa. Because the young guy in Etiosa, where is he going to farm? Is he in Lekki Zone where a plot of land is 140 million naira? Of course not. But guess what? The guy is internet savvy. So you start looking, what can we do in terms of ICT? An average young man out there is a blogger. I mean, he's on his phone, he's on the internet. That's where we need to tap into. And it's not rocket science. India did it. India has the second largest population in the world, about 1.3 billion people.
Yes.
20 years ago, the unemployed youth, I mean, it was virtually becoming a time bomb. And what did they do? They looked at the global market and said, okay,
Can I interrupt you? I
Okay.
reserve your thought, please. I need to take Marvelous from Ikoseketu. Good afternoon, Marvelous.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Please, I quickly want to talk about this, your topic.
Okay.
Concerning what the last caller said, I think I disagree. That he said that Nigerians are looking for white-collar jobs. That is a lie. Because of I think Nigerians are one of the most hardworking people in the world. It's just that the condition in Nigeria is unfavorable. With the economic situation right now, we know that it's not favoring us. Epilepsy power supply. If I want to sell posing ticket now, how will I sell it and make it when the life in Nigeria is not steady? Like what happened in Nigeria, was it not cookie about 2 days ago? I love one of the placards that said that Nigerians, the poor, will get to the state that they will have nothing to eat and they will start eating with it. Nigeria, no job is favorable at all. I think it's not about passing this bill. It's about making conditions easy for Nigeria. That you want to go into anything, it should be easy for you. Let's for example, in the light sector, in this debate maker, Aba is producing the chemicals. A lot of states in Nigeria are producing the chemicals. But Fasola is importing them from China, importing them from other Arab countries. I think it is very wrong. We should look at made in Nigeria here, and we should patronize them, and there will be more jobs and there will be more employment. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Marvelous. Made in Nigeria it is. That's what he's saying. And I will let you continue. For maybe you want to chip into what Marvelous said also.
Yes, I mean, I was talking about youth unemployment, and I was giving the example of India. Now, what did they do? They looked at the global market, and they discovered that, listen, customer service is a major problem in the developed economies, North America and Europe. They created an outsourcing industry. Today, India controls 56% of the global outsourcing market. And 90% of those employed in that market are the youths, less than 30 years of age. If you call Bank of America now, someone will pick up the phone and say, oh, this is Andy. You know that's not Andy. That's Sanjay Gupta talking to you from Mumbai. Your call is routed back to India. Last year alone, that industry raked in $106 billion US for India. By 2020, they are targeting that industry will be bringing in $300 billion for India.
So you want to replicate that in Ethiopia?
It doesn't have to be outsourcing. I'm simply saying that you can look at the youth, look at what they like, and create an industry out of it. It's easier to get someone employed in what he enjoys doing than you telling the person that you should go and farm. Nollywood is an industry. Comedy is an industry. There are so many things that the youth are into that we can look at it and create jobs out of it, and you'll be shocked what that can do for us as a country. I'm exactly when I look at young guys who are into comedy these days, and they are raking in $500,000, $1 million a month. Which bank is going to pay you $1 million a month on BSc or MSc? No jobs. Look at our guys in Nollywood. Look at the entertainment industry. We can do a lot.
But before you sing in Nigeria, before you enter the entertainment industry, sometimes you need to have money. You know, I'll come back to you. But let me go to Chief Adetula. What do you think? Because the same question I asked George, you have of the APC. What do you think the party has done talking about unemployment? And you're going to be the #1 citizen. You're aiming the Alagbaka house. What do you think you can do? Because Niger Delta, Ondo State is part of Niger Delta, and the most restive youths in the whole of Nigeria now come from, I stand corrected, from the Niger Delta region of Nigeria. What do you think to calm their restiveness?
I think you have to look at Ondo State separately. And the reason why I say that is very simple. Ondo State has been a state that has been governed by a non-APC leadership for many, many years leading up to the present. We have a governorship election coming in at the end of this year. We are concerned, we are focused upon the needs and the problems we have in the state. And we have a significant level of unemployment in Ondo State. Why? And the reason is very simple. Ondo State has been and continues to be a civil service state. That's all we have. The last 7.5 years, for instance, in Ondo State, there has been not one single industry established. Wherever it is you go in this world, whether it's a state or a nation, whether it's India, whether it's the US, you must be focused upon industries, creating industries, industrialization. Whether it's the comedy industry, whether it's Nollywood industry, whether it's the type of industries Chief Judge pointed out, it really doesn't matter. But with Ondo State, when you look at the state, you look at the past 7.5 years, you see there has been none. The industries we in Ondo State have, that we've boasted about for many, many years, are the industries that were put in place for us by Baba Ajashi of blessed memory. And those industries have practically collapsed. They are no longer in existence. So in Ondo State, we are talking about the need to develop industries. We have the raw materials, for instance, for a major ceramic industry, glass industry, cement industry, fertilizer industry. These are all industries that we need to figure out a way in Ondo State to put in place, to tap into the raw materials and use those as the basis to create employment. Yes, there are a lot of engineers, Ondo indigenes who are trained as engineers who can work in these industries. There are plumbers who are trained, who can be retrained to work in a fertilizer industry. There is room for electricians, engineers trained in electric, manufacturing engineers, and the list goes on. Chemical engineers, for instance. So Each state is different. With Ondo State, we have identified that the needs and problems we have in Ondo State is the fact that we have so much raw materials, we have so much resources that can be developed. We need industries to develop these resources.
But what about the bureaucracy? You still need to go to the federal government or the Ministry of Mining now to get permission before you even exploit or what you have in your own land.
I don't think that's the problem. I don't think getting approval from the federal government is the problem. I think the problem is finding the investors who are willing to bring good money in to establish the industry. Once you find that, once you identify that, it will be easy to invite the federal government to the discussion table. The state government can be a part of that. We can facilitate the discussions. The federal government is not unreasonable. They realize right now as we speak, Ondo State is totally broke. Broke. Zero. Salaries haven't been paid in 6 or 7 months. And federal government recognizes that by the time, God willing, an APC governor takes over in February, he or she is going there to meet an empty treasury. When the current leadership took over in Ondo State, they took over with about 35 to 40 billion that was left behind by late Governor Agagu of blessed memory. That's all gone. Our resources have been squandered by the current administration. But it's time to change that, and the way to change it is seeking out investors. Look at all of the resources we have. We talk about Cadbury here in Lagos, for instance, developing a lot of these cocoa products, things, simple things like chocolate. Come to Idori, right there in Ondo State. Look at the amount of cocoa we are growing. What industries do we have in place to tap into that? Look at our lumber industry. We have trees. We send our wood out. We send it to China. China processes it, turns it into paper, and sends it back to us, and we pay for it in foreign exchange. It shouldn't be that way. The agricultural products, the same thing. Look at our fishing industry. It's there. It's calling for help. It needs to be developed.
It needs to be developed.
Exactly. Now, in developing a lot of these things, just to make the point you pointed out, a lot of these things, when we develop them, we must be able to build them and develop them to international standards. If we're able to do that, then the market for a lot of these our products is not just here in Nigeria, but outside of Nigeria, which we can then begin to package a lot of these products and send them out. And that's where we will need the involvement of the federal government, for instance, when we start talking about the need to build a deep sea port, which the federal government, if you come to the table, as I believe we can and we will in Ondo State, and you bring to the table a foreign investor who is ready to expend 98% of the cost it will take to build a deep sea port for us right there in Ondo State, I think the federal government will listen. I think the federal government is reasonable. They know what that will do for us in Ondo State.
It will generate for the
income
federal government.
For the federal government. It will create an alternative to the congested ports here in Lagos. It will allow a lot of products to come in from abroad. But most importantly, once we force those industries to develop a lot of these items to international standard, we have a port right there waiting for us, load these things up on ships and send them out to other parts of the world. The other parts of the world are waiting for a lot of our products here in Nigeria. They are cringing for it, they are praying for it, and I think we can provide that to them.
Right, sir. Thank you. I have a caller on the line from Otta. Is that David?
Good morning, sir.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, sir. Please, I just want to add to what the governor, APC governor, is talking about Ondo State. That when the APC comes, things are going to change. That was the same story we hear in Ondo State when Oshomole came in. About that, I'm talking to you now. Benin City, Ogun State, or Tapisa will be far better than Benin City, more developed than Benin City. And yet they give us promises every day. And what we say is a reverse. What is it going to say? Tomorrow if you come here as the governor of APC coming again, are we going to get a better thing? Because right now we are suffering in Nigeria because APC is also at the top of the presidency. They feed us again. What confidence are they going to give us or to also vote him again? Okay. That's my question.
Thank you. Adeniyi, I'll come to you, but I want him to respond to that. The promises Oshomole gave, according to him, is not fulfilled. Otta is better than Ondo State. That's what he said. Are you going to... he's using that same yardstick now. He's asking a question. Are you going to be like Oshomole, according to him?
Look, I don't think it's fair to compare Ondo State with Edo State. I think they're two different states, different and unique problems. I can stay focused, and I'm staying focused on Ondo State. One of the reasons why we've struggled so much in Ondo State, as we've struggled in other states across the nation over time, is simply because of our choice of leadership. Look at what has happened in Lagos State in the last several years. We had Asiwaju Tinubu, who came in, who put in place a developmental plan. As he's rounding up, he brings on board a technocrat, Governor Fashola, who is not a politician, who wasn't a conventional politician, still is not. He spends 8 years. As he's rounding up, Governor Ambade is getting ready to take over. Maybe that's part of the problem we have now identified in Ondo State, which is when you put a conventional politician in place, as he said, yes, what they do is they tell you stories, he calls it lies. Yes, they can be very deceitful. I'm not saying all of them.
Are you not a conventional politician?
I don't consider myself a conventional politician.
So what do you consider yourself to be?
I consider myself a technocrat, business experience.
What's your background?
My background, 2 areas. I have been a lawyer for many, many years, practicing. And secondly, I have owned and run a number of businesses that have been very, very successful in different fields. That's my background. It's time to stop running our states as political entities. We need to start thinking of running our states as business entities. The money from Abuja is fast drying up. The money from oil and gas is fast drying up. We are not going to be getting those big, huge billion-dollar checks anymore from Abuja. So what we have to do is we have to look at our states as business entities. And what do we know about business entities? They must be profit-driven.
Okay.
You must drive them as a profit organization. When you do, you see profit. When you see profit, then there's extensive and significant amounts of monies that are being generated that can be spent on a whole lot of other projects.
I'll come to you again, Chief Adetola, but I have Remy from Yaba, Lagos. Good afternoon, Remy.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, please, I have a question for the governorship aspirant from Ondo State. Actually, I'm not criticizing. I read somewhere that the deep sea port that is supposed to be in Lekki Free Zone was actually initially supposed to be in Ondo State. I don't know how true that is. And if that is true, what happened exactly? Because I read also that there was, Dangote was supposed to, site his refinery in Ondo State. I don't know, it was on the internet, we don't believe everything we read, but and I just want you to please clarify, if that is true, what exactly happened?
Okay, do you want to respond to that briefly?
I'll respond briefly. It is true from everything we've been able to gather that Dangote Industries was looking to establish a refinery and a fertilizer plant that would have created significant employment in Ondo State. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. When a businessman like Dangote comes and is prepared to put in place a major industry of that nature, you don't let him get away. You beg him, you hold on to him, you create the enabling environment that he needs, you succumb to whatever the demands are to make sure he stays.
So that wasn't the
And obviously, our leadership in Ondo State has allowed Dangote Industries to slip out of their fingers and end up in Lagos State. That's part of why I say we don't need conventional politicians anymore in Ondo State. We need business-minded people who understand the risks that are involved in business, the way to develop profit, the way to develop projects. Dangote Industries is something we indigenous of Ondo State, we have so much regret about. We wish we could pull him back. But I want to assure you that with an APC leadership, no major industry like the Dangote Industries will come anywhere near Ondo State.
You can still even convince Dangote later.
Well, we will see. We will continue talking to him.
Thank you so much. Let me go to Adeni. What do you think? Because he said something that caught my attention. He said mining and farming. Do you like talking of mining? Do you think the Honorable Minister, the former governor of Ekiti State, Fayemi, do you think he's doing enough in there?
That question is basically subjective in terms of, because mining is, to me, is not something that you can see the results of immediately. So it's a long-term investment plan and is a long-term result-oriented project. So basically, I think we should still give him more time. When we talk about agriculture, basically...
And looking at Ondo Ogbe now, let's see, Honorable Minister Ondo Ogbe. Has it performed?
Honestly, they have laid a very good foundation, I am an entrepreneur, as I've said. My core interest is ICT, which...
when you break ICT down, what is your core interest in the ITC?
Yeah, sales and technical services.
Okay.
Yeah, basically. And apart from that, my other business interest is agriculture. And not too long ago, like some 2 weeks back, I had a call from the farm that, okay, the federal government loan is, being... So I think with this type of moves, if the incentives, the short-term loans, fertilizers and equipment and loans and leases for equipment, agricultural equipment and machineries, if they probably will get to the real farmers, I think the federal government is on the right footing.
Okay, let's talk about ICT generally.
Yeah,
Do you think, has it been able to create employment?
Basically, my core interest, as I said, is ICT, and I didn't want to go there.
You have to.
I am running for the presidency of CAPDAN, which is Computer Village.
Oh, that's where you didn't want to go. I thought you said you didn't want to go to ICT. Oh,
no, I didn't want to go there, basically. Okay. But
because I don't want my auditor to go there also.
Okay. So, and the election is coming in like this coming week. But the truth of the matter is that agriculture and ICT are the new bride for federal government, basically, to look at. And that is the way Nigeria can get out of unemployment problem and economic disaster.
You mentioned, is it Computer Village you mentioned?
Yeah, Computer Village.
What is the government doing, the Lagos State government, even the federal? Because Computer Village seems to be like I don't know.
That's our Silicon Valley.
Yeah, there's a lot of money there. Do you people pay tax? How does the government generate money from there? Yeah, yeah, I have to take you there. Because you took me there, I'll take you there.
Sincerely, I told you I didn't want to go there, but let's go there.
Yeah.
Computer Village is the #1 ICT hub, the largest ICT hub in Africa, as a matter of fact, undisputed. And it is a source of employment generation for teeming youths of Nigeria. And I must say this, that the market with the highest number of graduates anywhere in the world, market, is Computer Village. And when you look, this is a research, academic research that we have done, that Computer Village accounts for degree holders, for second degree, even PhD holders, because ICT is an industry that you must have some certain number, some certain level of education before you can partake in it. So like all other businesses. So Computer Village is a bride to behold, sincerely.
But is the government helping?
That's government is trying. The governor of Lagos presently has helped us to resolve a 12 years ethnic dichotomy in Computer Village. That is why we are having an election. And Nigeria and Nigerians and the world should look towards Computer Village in the coming year, because with a united Computer Village that we are about to achieve, the world should look at us, because we create solutions.
Okay, wonderful. I have a caller from Ondo State. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon. We're waiting for you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I must say that you have very wonderful people on your program today.
Thank you so much.
By virtue of what I've heard so far. Very importantly, I want to comment on the law and, of course, the implication. I am of the opinion that Nigerians are very productive people, very hardworking people. Mm-hmm. But like some of our panelists have agreed, we need to work on our value system. And that's quite very important. I hope that those who are aspiring to be our leaders on your platform, mm-hmm. Right there now, will also work towards creating a system that will, recognize merit and give reward appropriately.
Okay.
I think that's one of the problems we've had as a people. See, when you don't reward excellence, mediocrity takes over. Mm. Now, the young man on the street will ask you the question, if I'm committed, if I'm hardworking, what is my reward?
That's a big question.
Politician wants to take everything and does not care. So I hope that we can begin to do that. And gradually, people will come back to respect values.
All right, and thank you, Ola. That's all I can take because of time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your contribution, Ola. Sorry about that interjection also. But because you mentioned ICT, can we create like a village now, might not say computer, but can we do more to help boys on the street now? Because I know a lot of people, you go to that village, you see a lot of young boys, vibrant young boys, getting money. Can we, when you mentioned ICT, can we do more creating jobs for those boys?
Yes, I think we can. But to start with, what I think we need to do, first of all, is to recorrect our value system. Because creating jobs is on the surface. The value system is what undergirds what you do on top. And why am I saying that? I like what the president is doing currently, fighting corruption. One thing that's going to come out of that is that gradually our mindset, especially of the youth, will begin to change. They'll begin to realize that you need to give value for you to be able to get money. And once that happens, then they'll begin to appreciate, all the skills acquisition centers and things that has to do with being productive. Because what we have on tonight is a case whereby, you just see a 21-year-old school dropout because he's a Niger Delta boy or because I'm your townsman. All of a sudden, he's a billionaire. He's driving a Range Rover, he's flying a private jet, and he's not adding any single value to the economy. And that is killing our system. And that's why, nobody wants to go to school. Nobody focuses on education. Like you rightly said, why do I want to buy and sell when there's an easy way to make money? But now that, there's a fight against corruption, and once people begin to see the consequences of that, guess what? The youth will begin to sit up and know that for me to make money, I must add value. We'll begin to see a restoration of those olden days values in the days of chief, whereby, you need to work before you get something. And when you mention a billionaire, you can tell that, okay, this is what he's doing.
Worked well.
When we were growing up, when you mentioned Arish Ekola, you remember Lister Motors. When you mentioned MK Abiola, Concord Airlines comes to your mind. You can see what they are doing. You can see what they are producing. But these days, I mean,
contrary is the case.
It's
Thank you so much. You have a minute to go now or two, but let's get to understand what is going on in Ondo. Are we good to go for the primaries? Are you satisfied with the primaries? No zoning? What do you think?
I think we're making progress. I think, as a lot of the media has told us, everybody talks about APC aspirants in Ondo State running up to numbers of 30, 40, as many as 50. That is incorrect. As far as we can tell, the number is significantly less than that. But I think what is going to help with that is...
So what's the number?
Right now, we are waiting till Monday the 25th.
Okay.
By Monday the 25th, the leadership in Ondo State has asked all serious-minded aspirants to pay a developmental fee of 2 million. That will, I think, sort of narrow down the figure as to how many aspirants are really serious. From what I can tell, about 9 or 10 of us have made that payment already. So I think in about a week, that number will narrow down even further. I also think that once the state puts out the guidelines that we will need to be able to move to the next level of the primary, it will better and easily and curtail the number of we aspirants.
What about the issue of zoning? Because there's been a whole lot of hulabaloo talking about zoning. They have to zone to the north. Is it
well, look, APC does not have any, we don't believe in zoning. Our party is not pushing for zoning, and we don't have zoning in Ondo State. But what we have in the APC constitution is the spirit of fairness, spirit of fair play, spirit of equity. And the argument that you hear over and over again is that our current governor is from the Central Senatorial District. The one before him was from the South Senatorial District, which is Governor Agagu. And as such, it's time for it to come to the North Senatorial District. I think...
And which is where you come from?
Which is where I'm come from, which is Owo, Ose, and Akoko. And I think in the spirit of equity and fairness, a lot of people are pushing for it to come to the North. I'm sure the leadership is listening. The people of Ondo State are listening. We will continue to talk about these subjects. What we want is for the best aspirant to emerge as the APC candidate.
And you cooperate. Everybody will.
We will all cooperate, and we will throw our
wonderful.
support behind
We just
that.
have to go now because of time. Thank you very much, Chief Bukola Adetola, APC governorship aspirant in Ondo State. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Babafemi George, aspirant Etiosa local government. Thank you so much. Adeni Ojukutu, I don't have to mention where you're buying from. Do your people will get that? I don't want to get trouble with my auditor. Thank you so much, Adeni Ojukutu. He's the second vice president, Young Entrepreneurs of Nigeria. And that's our package for today. Thanks for those that called all the way from even Cotonou or Republic of Benin. Sorry for that call. We didn't get it. Next time, try and call in. Thanks for being part of the program again. Let's do it again. Same time next week. I do have a wonderful week ahead. I am Dakbo Aruwajoye. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.